so.
I love that.
Oh, we have a low internet connection. Okay. Thought we were going to have technical difficulties. Happy Monday, everybody.
Hey guys, happy Monday. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready, even though I pressed the button. I wasn't
It's
ready.
a little awkward. Oh, let's tag you in the video.
You can do that.
Okay. So now all your friends will see it too.
Awesome.
So we are, we had a week hiatus last week because Brian was away, but he is back this Monday. And we are going to talk about luck because it was just St. Patrick's Day. So we don't really do much for St. Patrick's Day. Kind of lame like that.
Well, I mean, our kids did a lot. They kind of did it up, but we could talk about that some other time. They went a little overboard, I think, on that.
Yeah, well, the big sisters made magic for the little brother, but we do not like necessarily go out on.
We're boring
losers,
as far as that goes. Yeah, totally.
Because we're not Irish, but we do like to talk about. We're talking a lot about luck. Actually, my friend Lauren Sigler sent me an email from Mel Robbins. Does anybody know Mel Robbins? Do you know Mel Robbins?
I mean,
you know, just from me.
But yeah.
You don't know her personally.
No,
She's
personally.
not a close personal
She's not.
friend.
No, we don't. We don't text.
You don't. Maybe you should get on that.
Maybe.
So Mel Robbins, I love. If you're not following Mel Robbins, I would really recommend you do that. I just love her. She's very sarcastic and dry and a straight shooter, but super kind of like you.
Maybe I should.
You might like
reach
her,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe you should become text buddies.
Right.
But she has some really great stuff to say, and I shared a while ago about the 5-second rule, and actually I did a lot with my team about 5-second rule. She's the best, and my friend Lauren sent me an email. She's on her email list, which now I am too. After I realized I wasn't, that she did a whole little write-up about luck. And do you believe in luck? And what is luck? And what's the science of luck? And I thought it was really timely to just chat about that for a little bit, because when we started talking about it,
right, I
was like, well, I kind of believe in luck, because I think that, for me to be a woman born in, it's no secret how old I am. So to be born in 1978 and to grow up in a world where women are empowered to do whatever they want, it's a little bit lucky. To be a woman born in the United States and not in the Middle East, where women are, forced to wear burqas every day and aren't schooled, that's lucky. For both of us to be born to parents that valued education and made sure that, we had those opportunities. I do believe in a little bit of luck, I have to say. Brian.
Yeah, that's hard to argue with, right? I mean, that's,
as most of my points are hard to argue with.
Individual particular point is hard to argue with, but generally speaking, I don't really believe in the idea of luck as maybe we use that term more generally. Like, I was lucky because whatever. Someone gets a promotion, they're lucky, or somebody does something great and they're lucky, or luck and good things just kind of fall into your lap. I generally don't believe in luck, really at all, as far as how that goes. I think a lot of times that's like a function of time, right? So if you think about it, I could have a great day today and good things can happen for me today. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm lucky, or vice versa, right? And you're not. It's just that if you look at today, I had a great day. If you stretch that out over 365 days, maybe you have the same amount of lucky days as I have lucky days, right? And it's about equal. I think if we're looking at it in terms of something good happened to a person today and they're lucky because of that, it's just because the sample size isn't big enough. Statistically speaking, we didn't look at it for enough time. So sorry to be boring with math details
the economics major.
But I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't think luck is like a real thing.
Yeah, I never really thought about it like that, but it does make sense.
It does make sense.
It kind of reminds me, when we were talking about that, is I, run my business with Stella and Dodd, and I do some customer giveaways, and I do a lot of team giveaways, lots of incentives for the team of women that I coach and mentor. And every time, I would say, not every time, 9 times out of 10 that somebody wins, they will always say, I never win anything, right? Have you ever,
I say that. I mean,
yeah.
I was born slightly before her, not too much, but if you got her date,
He's way older.
My family still sends me scratch-offs in a birthday card that I get from them every year. And I always joke that I never have won anything on a scratch off in my life. Well, I only ever play 5 of them a year. So again, statistically speaking, making that boring, if I'm just looking at the 5 scratch offs I get for my birthday and I don't win anything, I say, well, I never win this. But then people generally who win those, they play them quite often, you know? So it would be a matter, you know, that's if I wanted to win at that and I wanted to be quote unquote lucky at that, I should just do it more often, right? I think that's something that, you know, we'll get through in a little bit, but yeah.
That reminds me of my Nana. So my Nana, who is 93 now, her bingo days are over. But my Nana used to always play bingo. And she was like, I am a really lucky bingo player. I win. I'm lucky. I'm a lucky bingo player. But what the backstory is, she played 5 days a week. Like literally, she was at a different church hall every night of the week, you know, minus like, I don't know what days she had off. Might have been more than 5 days a week. And she played like 20 cards at a time. She was like, you know, those old like biddies that like have all their dabbers. And, you know, she was like a machine, a bingo machine. So of course she won a lot. How much money did she put into playing bingo? I don't know. Nobody really talks about that. But anyway. So I think, you know, reading up on this, we both spent some time reading up. Well, let's be real. I spent some time reading up on it. Brian, you did some research. Yeah. You're just checking the stock market before we hit like go live. So
that's important research.
Brian, I am more prepared, but you have more natural talent, sweetie. So the definition of luck is lucky people are lucky because they act in ways that lead to good things happening. So lucky people are lucky because they act in ways that lead to good things happening. It's pretty basic and simple, but I really think if you think about it, it's something that we can all kind of get behind. So a little like geeky science lesson for you. So our brain has a part of our brain that is just like a very small, like pencil eraser size, called the reticular activating system. And that is like a gate, right? It allows things in and it closes, right? So it decides what? Is that funny?
That's what gates do. Yeah.
Can I curse? Can I curse?
No, that was good. That was good.
My point is smart.
That's a good one. No, I like it. That's good.
So that is in your brain and deciding what stays and what we dismiss. And we are wired to keep some of the bad, scary things in. The gate, you know, closes for a lot of the good things and keeps in a lot of the scary things because it's simply a survival tactic. You know, back to like the days of cavemen, you know, you have to know when there is a threat. You have to know that fire is hot. You have to know that big woolly mammoth is, you know, you can't get near it. So we're wired to keep those things in. And a lot of times, I think if you get real with yourself and you really think about it, we all do it, right? We have memories of bad things that we keep with us, and we sometimes use those as reasons or excuses for not doing or trying new things. I know I do, right? Everybody does.
I think we're hardwired to you know, from back in caveman days to not want to die today, right? I mean, that's the whole point of being afraid of things, because you don't want to get hurt or injured or killed, right? So it's natural.
I think the good news is that you can train your RAS to keep in good things. So now is when you talk about the cars.
Yes. So the best example of this that my wife told me that I do. I do. I brought this up. So this is something where like you're kind of conditioning yourself to see what you want to see in certain instances, right? So I am a car guy. I like cars. I love the idea of researching a car and figuring out what we should buy next. And I'm very much in the mode of wanting her to get a new car now. So I've been looking at all these different things.
To trade in the minivan.
Yes. Anyway, so it's one of those things where you think about it. If that's been your thing, if you've ever shopped for a new car and you've spent a couple of days looking online and just reading reviews or looking at photos or whatever it is you're doing, the next time you run errands, the next time you drive to work, the next time you drop your kids off at practice, you're going to see 3 of the cars that you just researched online. Are they statistically more of them on the street today than there were 2 months ago when you weren't looking? Probably not. It's just that you're kind of dialed into paying attention to it. So I think that's my best example of kind of how this works. Like if you're letting in the information and it's kind of close to you and it resonates with you, then you're seeing some of the stuff in your day-to-day life that you normally wouldn't recognize, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see what you look for, basically. Right. So you just need to look for more opportunity, more luck. Easier said than done, I get it. We talked on the last video about trying new things when it comes to building your confidence. This is very, very similar, I think, to building confidence. But I think trying new things is a way to build your luck. If you are holed up in your, house all weekend, binging on Netflix, you're not going to get very lucky because you're not open to new opportunities. You're not putting yourself in those situations where something could go drastically right for you. So you have to, that's like, we're going to give you 3 points, but that goes without saying. You have to put yourself in new situations to get lucky, to have opportunity. A little aside. So I've been doing my Stella Dot business coming up on 9 years, and people always say to me, like, you're so lucky you got in at the beginning. And it cracks me up when people say that, because there were lots of other people that, got in at the beginning with me. But why did it work out for me and maybe not for everybody else? Because I put myself in that situation, but then it's where the work kind of came coupled in with that. So you can put yourself in this situation, but you also need to then put the effort in. It's not just obviously about being in the right situation. It's about getting yourself open to opportunities and then taking them and running with them.
Right.
So 3 main points that we just wanted to touch on with a little anecdote on each, because Brian is really good at, I could just ramble, and Brian's really good at bringing it back. So 3 points. We're going to talk about trust your intuition, expect good fortune, and then turn your bad luck into good luck. So trust your intuition.
Yeah. Now, I know I just bored you with the statistical stuff of luck is a function of time, and if you extend the timeline, everybody has about the same amount of good fortune. That's my opinion, at least, right? I don't have any studies to prove that, but as far as trust your intuition, I think it's almost the exact opposite of that in some ways, right? Because I think sometimes we get bogged down with overanalyzing every individual detail of a decision, and sometimes that's very important, right? So if you're she made fun of me for checking the stock market before we came on. If you're talking about your 401k, your retirement fund, you probably want to be super detail oriented and as far as how you're approaching that. But there are some other things where I think we could benefit from not being paralyzed. That paralysis by analysis is a real thing for a reason. I think sometimes we end up taking the emotion out of a decision, and we keep punting and kicking that ball down the road, and we eventually don't ever make a decision. I know I'm guilty of that sometimes. And I think some people who do look at things, from a analytical perspective, they're kind of inclined to lean that way. And I think sometimes, the point is, nothing good's going to happen if nothing happens, right? if there is no opportunity for anything to happen, then certainly no good's going to come of it. So continuing to delay that decision by compiling all this data and wiring yourself down, you eventually talk yourself out of trying things, or putting yourself out there that ends up not allowing good things to in fact happen to you,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I think, when we talked about what we were going to talk about, and we said trust your intuition, I was like, I don't even know how do you teach somebody to trust their intuition? But what I think anyone who's a parent can understand intuition. And I think of, as a new mom, all of the books stacked up on my bedside with, what to expect when you're expecting, and Happiest Baby on the Block, and all the things. And at the end of the day, you can be so over-prepared, but when that baby comes, you have to trust that you know what's right for that baby. And it might not be what Dr. Sears said, it's going to be what you know is right. So I think as a parent, if you're a parent, there is the number one illustration of intuition. You have that feeling of, this is what my baby needs, and this is what I'm going to give it. And I think, that's the most profound example. Also, choosing a mate.
Yes.
Getting married. We talked before, and I was like,
I don't know if I'm a big fan of this one.
I was like, well, if I would have weighed all the reason if I should marry you or not, I would have not ended up marrying you.
Yeah.
But I trusted my gut.
Happy Monday morning.
No, but my point was, Brian, we grew up in Pennsylvania together. I went to college in Maryland. He went to New York, and then he was commissioned as an Army officer, and he was moving to Oklahoma. And I knew if I get married, this is going to be, if I get married to him, this is going to be my life. I'm going to move to Oklahoma, and I'm going to be an Army wife, and anyone who's a military spouse understands like that is a whole different world with a whole different set of challenges. And if I would have weighed everything on a pros and cons list, like, yes, I love them. No, I'm moving to Oklahoma. I have to give up all my career, what I think I'm going to do here. But lucky for you.
I think I still probably would have
intuition.
won out if you did that. It just might have taken longer, which would have been a terrible mistake on your part.
Probably. Anyway, it's about, you know, trust your gut, listen to your gut, all those things. Number 2, expect good fortune. So there's been all these studies that good luck charms actually work. And it's not because of your like lucky pen, right? It's not because you have your lucky underwear on, or it's not because you got dressed with like your left leg in your pants first. It's because when you visualize, you know, what happens when you have your lucky pen is you're like, this is my lucky pen. When I take my notes with my lucky pen, I always go and I always deliver. I can't go wrong. So when you visualize that, you are in that mindset that it's going to go right. And you know, what you think about comes about. We are going to basically act that into reality. So I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things. It's like a trigger for you to start looking at things through a positive lens, right? I mean, we talked about confidence a little while back. If that lucky charm gives you confidence, then amen. You know what I mean? Like, go for it. If you feel good about yourself and you have the positive idea of how you see yourself succeed because you have a lucky pen, or, you know, whatever it might be, then I think that's awesome. I think, you know, those, I don't know if you want me to.
He's never comfortable talking myself.
Yeah, so people who know us well, they know like a few years ago, this was like three years ago. We had a pretty intense I had a pretty intense medical situation, and you know, there was a lot going into that, and we can talk about that some other time, I guess. But you know, it was a big deal. It was a major surgery. It was a major rehab. There was a lot of healing, and there was a lot on her plate. Our son, our third child, was like 1, I guess. And, yeah, it was just a lot, and I think
the child wasn't the problem.
I was the problem.
Plague nurse was the problem. But.
I think, you know, for me, I did really, really well rehabbing that and coming back very, very quickly, and everything worked out really amazingly well. And if you're on the outside looking in, you can say, well, hey, you were really lucky that everything worked out so well. And that's true, right? I mean, I guess if you believe in luck, I can't argue with that. I would say from the day that this was explained to us as far as what was going to happen and what we needed to do to get better, and this was the big picture, and this is how everything was going to go, I never didn't envision myself succeeding quickly as far as rehabbing and getting better again. I know that like the first thing they said was, well, you know, you're going to be in the hospital for like 10 days post-surgery. And my immediate thought was, and I think I joked with our surgeon, like, I bet I can get out of here in 6. And, you know, trying to...
And you did.
Right. And he said, I signed your discharge paperwork, so no, you can't get out in 6 days. But I always had this idea that, like, you know, it was like a little bit of a fun game and a little bit of way to inject levity into a situation that desperately needed it. But I think, you know, I constantly saw myself succeeding, and if I had a good luck charm, it would have been how I used it at that point. If I had a good luck whatever, I would have used it to envision and help me see myself succeeding in that point, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I mean, every timeline they gave, you always were like, well, I'm going to beat that by a day or two.
Yeah, even if it's just a day. Like, it's just became a personal thing for me that, you know, I can do that one. But even in the hospital, you got to do A, B, and C for us to get you out of here. And I would say, I'm the best person at A you've ever met, and I think the nurses were probably like, just get the dude out of here.
He had to do a swallow test because it was like a whole jaw thing.
Trach,
and that's why he had a trach. And they were like, you can't leave until you pass the swallow test. And he was like, I am the best test taker you've ever seen. I can swallow applesauce like you would not imagine.
I say I don't study a lot, and I can't say that I've always got the best grades, but I'm really awesome at test taking. Yeah. So,
but you said it. I feel like maybe it started as a joke and you said it, but then by saying it, you start to believe it.
No, I if you know me, like I certainly am a confident person, and I sort of kind of did believe that. Not that I was the best test taker ever, but I believed that whatever needed to be done in the next 24 hours to get me to go home to my family, I was going to do it. You know, there was no idea in my head that I wasn't going to be to meet whatever standard and succeed in any way that they needed me to.
Yeah, and I think anyone who's ever gone through any difficult medical situation or just life situation, you know, knows that your mind is more than half the battle. I mean, your family's faced a lot of stuff, and we have a lot of people close to us that have walked through really tough times and done it so well because they just never believed that they wouldn't. And I'm not saying that is going to trump your physical body, because unfortunately sometimes it doesn't. Sure. But if there's an opportunity to get better in 2 months or get better in 6 months, always go for the 2 months or maybe the 6 weeks, and when you believe that, you truly, I believe, can will your body. Your mind is so powerful, can will your body into getting where you need to go faster.
Yeah, I think, and the point of this again goes back to the idea that, good luck charms are real because they make you feel like you're setting yourself up and you're seeing yourself succeed, or they make you feel a little bit more confident that you will succeed. And if envisioning yourself succeeding in any way you look at it feels like it's adding more luck to your situation, then that's good. That's exactly what it's for. I mean, good for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last point is to turn your bad luck into good luck. So, everybody has tough stuff. Everybody has bad things. And, some of it is a little lighter than others. And I think in every situation, it's so cheesy to be like, find the silver lining. But that saying exists and has existed for, decades and decades for a reason. Yeah. Because in every bad situation, there is always a glimmer of hope. And, not to get all like Jesus on you, but like, I believe that God puts a moment of hope in every situation. And if you cling to it, it can change your whole perspective on what you're going through. And, back to his surgery example. So I'm not going to go too much into detail on this, but we knew this was going to be a huge thing. We knew it was going to be a big rehab. I mean, it was big, it was heavy. But I never thought it was going to be a life altering thing. And, in the middle of his surgery, his surgeon came out and was like, I have some bad news. This might not be what we thought it was. This might be something else. And the something else that it could have been would be a end in death for Brian. I mean, and this is pretty heavy for a Monday morning, but he came out and had that conversation with me, and I spent the next, I don't know, it was like 10 days till we got the pathology reports back, thinking all the crazy thoughts that we all tend to think, like, what will my life be like? How will I function as a single mom? Like, what will I do? Or how will this work? Thinking all these crazy things. But they were real things. Like, it was a very likely reality. And so meanwhile, he's learning to swallow and he's going through skin grafts and all these crazy things that happened with his surgery. And there's so much heaviness to that whole period of our life, but and really it wasn't over just then. I mean, it was like a good 2-year saga. But when I look back at that time, for me, now it's a little different for Brian because he's the one going through it, but for me, all I can feel is so lucky, because that moment, I will never forget that moment of thinking this might turn out totally differently than I thought. And obviously, thankfully, the pathology reports came back that it wasn't this awful thing, and it was what we originally thought it was. And so when I think back on that situation, that is all I remember, really and truly. I mean, I can go down the path of all the bad stuff, but I remember that feeling of sitting in that doctor's office and saying, your pathology report looks great, and this isn't this metastatic, malignant cancer that we thought it was. This is something a little bit different that is not going to be, end your life. And that's the moment I remember. And that's why I feel so lucky. So, I'm not trying to put myself on like I'm not trying to, but it's real. That's real. Yeah. And I think you could look back on that time of our life in so many different ways and remember the bad things, because there were plenty of bad things, but I clung like crazy to that silver lining. And that is what has, clouded my memory in a great way of that time in our life.
Yeah. And again, if you're talking about, turning bad luck into good luck, and if maybe you're a little more like me, and I am not by nature inclined to always look at the silver lining in all cases, but I do look at it, a lot of things, as a challenge, right? So I may not be instantly thinking like, well, here's the silver lining, and at least this is a great news story. I look at it like, well, there's a challenge, and let's see what we can do about this, right? So even if you're not a person who's just naturally inclined to look at the bright side of things, which is probably the category that I'm more aptly fit into. It's still as as a challenge, or there's a way that you can condition yourself to say, all right, well, let's try to take this bad news and turn it into whatever good news we can. I think there are multiple ways to do that, right? And then again, perspective, I'm a huge proponent of perspective and what that is. And there are people who have, sacrificed and been through things a million times more than I have or that we have, right? And so I think I do try to, like anybody, you get worked up on, this is a bad situation that I'm in, or this is some bad luck that I've gotten, or it's been a string of bad luck, or whatever it might be. I try to always sort of recenter myself and say, you know what, like, look around the room, look what I have here. I have my wife who may not have married me if she were able to do all that analysis, but she did, right? So now we're stuck. She's stuck. But I have that. We have 3 healthy kids. We have, we have a life that we're very excited about living every day, and it helps me recenter myself from a perspective standpoint, and then that helps me seek out, turn those bad luck or bad situations into good ones, and sort to see the good luck and the silver lining and all that stuff. The perspective is super important.
Yeah, that got a little heavy.
Yeah, I didn't think
I brought it. I think
really,
I brought it down.
You really went for it there.
I said like death a few different times.
Yeah, I didn't. I was not a huge fan of.
All right, well, it is what it is, Dempster.
No.
All right, well, thanks everybody for listening. Always open to ideas for things that you would like to hear us talk more about. We're not experts by any stretch of the imagination, but we are like dorks, so we like to read up on things and then just kind of infuse life situations into them. So
trust your gut, expect good things, right? Look on the positive, right?
Use your good luck charms.
Use your charms, whatever you need to do. You trust your gut and
trust your intuition. Expect good fortune and turn your bad luck into good luck.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
In not so many words, but you guys get the idea.
All right. Bye everybody. Have a great Monday.